While we still remain on press-related matters for our second leading story. Africa is experiencing a new era in media. Digital media has impacted the landscape. The news cycle moves at a lightning speed thanks to live tweeting, blogging and citizen journalism, all known just a few years ago. This has mainly been attributed to fiber optics that have revolutionized the telecommunication industry as the internet is getting cheaper and faster and more communities are logging on even in remote areas. To remain accessible, conventional media practitioners in the continent are adapting to a new media world that is time-sensitive and more interactive.
This awareness of the African media landscape is also evident in a fight against misinformation. In Nigeria, for instance, some 15 media outlets last week launched a joint program to combat misinformation before the February presidential election in the country, where the main political parties accuse each other of spreading false news. The Cross-Check Nigeria project, in collaboration with the International Investigative Journalism Center of Abuja and First Draft, a British NGO that aims to combat misinformation worldwide, seek to bring together normally competing media to investigate and refute the influx of false information on social media networks, and is not the only platform of its kind on the continent.
We now head to London, in the UK, to speak to the newly appointed CEO of APO Group, the media relation consultancy and press release distribution service, Lionel Reyna. Hello, Reyna. Thanks for joining us on the morning call. What is APO's group's strengths in the African market, and how have you supported global players active in doing business in Africa that able to know their existence across the continent?
Well, I would say without hesitation that the APO strength is rich. In 11 years, the company has built capabilities which are allowing us to distribute our content to the 54 countries on the continent. We reach approximately 250,000 journalists every time we distribute a press release. We also reach 250 websites live. What we can say without hesitation is that we help really multinational companies, which represent today approximately 70% of our revenue, to develop their visibility and their presence on the African continent.
Lionel, what is your vision of Africa's media landscape and your take on media management in the continent?
I would say that the African continent is very bright, is very large, which obviously presents some challenges and tremendous opportunities. There was a recent report from McKinsey that is forecasting that Africa is the next really growing continent. They mentioned that the growth that has been seen in Asia will happen to the African continent. If you combine that with the fact that there is a tremendous growth in the population, by 2050 the continent will have more than 2 billion people. It creates obviously opportunities for African companies to develop, opportunities to multinational companies to invest in Africa, but also a need to communicate more and as such to develop the media landscape. I would say that it's becoming more and more about content, and APO has been, is ideally positioned to respond to this content requirement. It is a market leader in Africa, and we vision to develop our market position in Africa and the Middle East over the years to come.
Lionel Reyna, so what is your assessment of the media in general in Africa?
We have been distributing over the last 11 years content from a multinational company primarily, and we have developed a tremendous capacity to bring content to the largest possible audience and valuable content that can help foreign decision makers to decide on foreign investments in Africa, but that also can help African companies to propagate their news on the African continent and abroad. So I would say that content is really becoming increasingly important and also based on the fact that we've seen a decrease in advertising budget all over the world, but also in Africa. So corporations are relying more and more on public relations. Like everywhere in the world, one of the major challenges is the tremendous change of technology. You know, the way people are communicating is changing. We've seen the rise over the last 10 years of internet, associated to internet, new technologies. And Africa is not immune to the fact that it needs to adapt to those new technologies in order to distribute the news. But we also see, particularly recently, a propension to the African continent to adopt, as an early adopter, new technologies that really help them to distribute the news in the broadest and best possible way.
Lionel Reyna, just before we wrap up the interview, what is next for Africa and the Middle East now that APO is going global?
You know, as I was mentioning before, the company is serving approximately 300 multinational companies today. Over the years, they have asked us to do more and more for them and to follow them over different continents to propose them new services. We have, as an example, recently launched our photo news release. We are also investing heavily in analytics, bringing some feedback and information to the company about their PR, and we will continue to do so. Today, the company is spending approximately 7% of its revenue in analytics and research and development, and we will continue to follow our customers where they're asking us to go. Today, we can pretty much distribute the news all over the world with our own capabilities or with some partners. And over the years, we will build stronger and stronger capabilities outside of Africa and the Middle East.
Well, thank you very much, Lionel Reyna, for your insights. Lionel Reyna is a new appointed CEO of APO Group, speaking about how Africa can strengthen the media market. Don't forget you're watching The Morning Call here on Africanews. You can watch The Morning Call that is live in either our website, www.africanews.com, or on our website, Africanews. That is our application. Still to come, has South Africa pulled out of recession? The country slipped into a technical recession during the first half of the year, following 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. That has dented initial positive market sentiment after the election of Cyril Ramaphosa as president. And in sports, we head to Nigeria, where Psychology, a group of cycling enthusiasts based in Lagos, is keen on keeping the flame of the discipline burning in Africa's most populous nation. Find out more on this plus much more when we return after the break. Hanan and I will be right back. Stay with us.